Hello, I'm so happy that you could find time to join me on this edition of High Achievers. Today, I will be having a chat with one of the 12 neurosurgeons that we currently have in the country. I will be speaking to Dr. Peter Mushenya, and he will be sharing with us his journey of success. But special thanks go to Waterfalls Manor found in Ibex Hill, the apartments that are found on booking.com. Now let's get to chat with Dr. Peter Mushenya. Hello and welcome to this interview.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you could find time. I know I've been trying to get a hold of you, but for the longest, you've been in surgery most of the time.
Indeed.
You spend like the whole day in surgery.
Yeah.
But tell us about you. How do you describe yourself? Who's Dr. Peter Mushenya?
Thank you, Msonda, for having me. Dr. Peter Mushenya is a Zambian doctor, a neurosurgeon, as you have said. Currently working at the University Teaching Hospital. I'm a fellow of the Zambia College of Medicine and Surgery. I'm also a fellow of the College of Surgeons for East Central and Southern Africa. I'm also an honorary lecturer of the University of Zambia, the Department of Surgery. Usually teach medical students, mostly the 5th years and 7th years, as well as postgraduate students when they rotate in neurosurgery. I should also add that I'm the current treasurer of the Neurosurgical Society of Zambia, and I'm also an examiner for the Health Professionals Council of Zambia for their licensure exams. Yes. Dr. Peter Mushenya was born on the 2nd of April, 1988, in Kitwe, at the Kitwe Central Hospital, and born and raised in Kitwe. I come from a family of 7. I'm the third born, and we have 5 boys and 2 girls. Also, one funny thing that I must add is that I've always wanted to do medicine from the time I was very little. I remember at home people already used to call me doctor, even way before.
When you were young?
Yes, when I was young, I did all sorts of things, dissected all sorts of insects.
You started your operations long ago on insects.
Yeah, on insects and stuff like that. I remember when my dad was involved in an accident, and I don't know how the health system was at that time, but there are nurses that used to come home to clean his wounds, and every time they come, they would give him an injection or something, and I would somehow scavenge for the syringes, and I'll start using them to treat my own things. And so everyone knew from early on that I wanted to be a doctor. I remember people would even call me doctor even way before. So when I came to the university, I didn't have a second choice. I'd applied to UNZA, and I'd also applied to the Copperbelt University to do electrical and electronics. The names for the Copperbelt University came out earlier than the UNZA names. And I was not sure I was going to be picked at UNZA, but I decided to just ignore the Copperbelt University core because I really wanted to do medicine. And eventually the UNZA names came, and I was picked to come to the School of Natural Sciences. So at the end of the first semester, you're supposed to choose streams. Those who are going to stream B to do engineering-related courses, and those going to stream A to do medicine-related courses. And at the end of the second semester, you are supposed to choose which specialty or which program you'll be quoted in. And you had to make 3 choices. So you put your first choice, second choice, and third choice, depending on the amount of points you make. If you make enough for your first choice, you go to your first choice, and just like that. But because I really didn't have a second choice, I handed in the paper with just medicine.
One choice?
With just one choice. And of course, the university called me back to say, no, you can't just have one choice. Give us the other choices. So I put the other choices just
For the sake
for
of
the sake
it.
of it. I didn't even know.
There was no room
I
for
can't even
disappointment.
remember what my second and third choices were. Yeah.
Tell us about after graduation, your experience now working. Did you get a job immediately? Were you one of those that were lucky?
Right. So, by the time the results were coming out, we already knew where we were going. It's just a matter of doing the formalities. The banks come, you open your accounts, you do the induction, they induct you into the civil service, and 2 days later, you have the trucks coming to Ridgeway to pick your stuff wherever you're going.
No, you were living the life.
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
opted to remain at the university.
I opted to go to Ndola
okay.
because from my experience in medical school, I knew I wanted to be a surgeon. I knew I wanted to do surgery. And from the advice that we got from our seniors, if you remained at UTH, UTH is also, at that time, was the only hospital training postgraduate doctors. So you are going to compete for operations, you're going to compete for procedures, and you're not going to get a lot of hands-on experience. Of course, you're going to get a lot of knowledge in terms of the theoretical aspect, because there are many big consultants, you are discussing on major ward rounds, but you may not get a lot of hands-on experience. So if you wanted that, you go to a smaller hospital. So I chose Ndola, and I don't regret, really. I had a very great time. Of course, we had very good surgeons there as well. Dr. Makupe, the former head clinical care at the Ministry of Health, was our head of department surgery then. There's also Dr. Msowoya. These are very, very good technically gifted surgeons who I worked under in Ndola. Also in the obs and gynae, there was Dr. Inamba, very experienced man. So you get the chance really to apply to learn the hands-on, the surgical skills. I did quite a number of cesarean section as an intern doctor, as a junior resident, yeah. So
which you might have not done in Lusaka.
Which I may not have done in Lusaka. I may have done a few, but not as much as I did when I was in Ndola. So by the time I was going to Chadiza for my rural posting, I was very comfortable doing cesarean sections and stuff like that. And you find that in the rural area, you are alone there, you are everything, whatever comes really.
How did you find yourself in Chadiza?
Yeah, so after I finished my internship, my junior residency, I was initially posted to Chilovi. But before I could report there, I think there was probably a crisis in the Eastern Province. They needed more senior resident medical officers. So I was redirected to Eastern Province, particularly Chipata. And when I reported there, I was further redirected to Chadiza. So Chadiza is very, very rural. I was there recently, and it hasn't changed much.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the most rural districts in Zambia. There's still no single-tarred road. There was one bank there when
after 7 years of school, how did you feel about being sent to Chadiza, to the rural?
I wanted to go for rural,
but
of course, I didn't know that Chadiza was that rural. Yeah. So I wanted to go because I would actually still encourage doctors to go for rural posting. There's a lot that you learn whilst there. And because, of course, like I said, I knew I wanted to be a surgeon. I knew that when I go for rural, I would do even further surgical things that will enhance my surgical skills even before I start the actual surgical training. But apart from that, like for me, I was the medical superintendent or medical officer in charge for Chadiza District Hospital for the period that I was there. So that also equipped me with a lot of managerial skills, just learning how to make decisions, how to manage people, which you do a lot as well as you become senior in the profession. Even as a surgeon, there are so many people who are under me, so many other cadres that I work with who I should manage. So I feel that opportunity gave me a lot of skill in that area, and also made me very courageous. I think, like I mentioned on another program that we had, you get very, very sick patients, emergency patients who you have to do something about, otherwise they won't reach the next level of care even if you decided to refer them. You may get a woman who's bleeding profusely after labor. She delivered in the village and she's been brought to the hospital bleeding. You know this uterus hasn't contracted. You've given everything you can, and she's still pouring. You have to take to theater and go and remove that uterus. You calculate how long it will take you to reach Chipata with the muddy road and stuff like that. You know she's going to die on the way. So you go in and do what you can to save a life. And you don't get that courage until you've experienced that situation. So even when I was coming now for my postgraduate training, I already able to handle a lot of big situations. Yeah.
Coming from you, that is very encouraging, because right now we have a situation where young graduates shun going into the rural areas. Everybody wants to be in the urban areas. But maybe it's stories like you that would encourage somebody to go into the rural areas, because it has its own benefits.
Indeed, it has a lot of benefits, and of course, even me when I went there, discovered how rural Chadiza was. In the initial days, I would, always question myself: am I going to cope? Am I going to manage here? And I remember troubling the provincial health director a few times, Dr. Cavallo at that time, to say, can you please move me maybe to another district or something like that? But, the longer I stayed there, the longer I realized how much I was needed, and the impact that I could, how impactful I was. And before I realized it, I was attached to the place. It became really like my heart was attached to it. I started doing a few projects there. We didn't have any neonatal ICU. We lobbied around for incubators and heaters, and developed a very, very good intensive care unit for our neonates who are born with problems, or those premature babies. I found that the hospital was quite indebted in terms of electricity bills, water bills, and other things. So we, through one of the projects I initiated, we managed to put up a borehole and a pump, and we had our own overhead tank, and the hospital now had water. We could reduce on the bills from the Eastern Water Company. So
that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, of course. And by the time I was leaving, I was torn apart. Should I leave? Should I not? And the people really were so good. I think Easterners are very, very good people. I had a good time. Yeah.
So let's get to you leaving Chadiza. What prompted you to leave?
Okay, so what prompted me to leave was really to come and do neurosurgery. Just like I knew that I wanted to do surgery again from early on in my career. I realized I had a passion for the brain. I had passion for neurosurgery. So whilst I was in Chadiza, I was called by one of, he's now a general surgeon, Dr. Wanga Alik, to that he had heard that the neurosurgery team at UTH was looking for young doctors who would join. Because at that time we only had 2 neurosurgeons in Zambia, Dr. Schizia and Professor Chikoya. So Professor Chikoya was initially at UTH, but at that time he had left to go to Levi. The Levi Mwanawasa Hospital had just been opened, and he was made the head of the Levi Mwanawasa Hospital. And so Dr. Schizia had to leave Betikwa, where he was working, to come to UTH. And so when he came to UTH, he wanted to build a team of young doctors who, the initial plan was that after a year or so, you would be sent out to go and specialize and come back and continue working. So after I got that information, I got in touch with Dr. Schizia and expressed my interest, and told him that I've always wanted to do this. Of course, he was very happy and encouraging, and of course, after we talked, time passed, and I thought it's just one of those things that come up and go. But after a few months, he called me and said, Mushenya, are you still in for this? I think I can facilitate a transfer for you to come and join. I really need you guys now. Yeah, so of course, through his help, I managed to get a transfer from Chadiza to UTH. That was in September 2017. So basically, I left to come and specialize. Yes.
Okay, and now that you're specialized, you've won awards as a neurosurgeon. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I've had quite a number of awards throughout my training, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. At undergraduate, I can mention probably two. So I got my Bachelor of Science degree with distinction. That was not a very easy thing at that time. I don't know how things are now, but I remember the time it happened for me, it was something really rare. And something that I'm still quite proud of. When
Distinction. Hey. Because I'm imagining, I do know that even in the School of Humanities, there are not so many distinctions, but this is NS, or by then you had specialized actually, and you graduate with a distinction. How many were you?
Yeah, well, in my class I was the only one.
With a distinction. Wow.
Yeah. So after that, in my 5th year, again I performed very well, and I was awarded what was used to be called the Brighton Lusaka Link Award, which enabled me to travel to Brighton in the UK for 6 months, basically to have an experience there of basically medicine in a more resourceful setting. So I worked under Professor Newport there in the infectious disease department and many other departments. So I spent a lot more time in the infectious disease department because the coordinator of that program was an infectious disease specialist. But we did have an experience in cardiology, renal medicine, and many others. In my 7th year, again, I was awarded the Lusaka Hindu Award for the best candidate in surgery. When I went through my postgraduate training, which is now neurosurgery, I was awarded the Federation of International Education in Neurological Surgery 2022 award, which is also called the Bassett Fellowship. Yes, these are very, very competitive fellowships with applicants from all over the world. And you really have to prove your worth for you to get it. So they awarded me that and sponsored me to have an experience in Italy, where I did an experience in spine surgery in 2 hospitals there, one in Florence, where there's the third biggest hospital in Italy. It's a very, very, very busy place. This is a place where, just being there for a week or two, you gain so much experience because of the amount of work they do, the complexity, and just how busy it is. And I also spent some time in the northern part of Italy, in Udine, in a smaller hospital, but more organized, and obviously because it's small. And I was told the northern part of Italy is richer. So I think they had more resources even, despite being small. So it was also a very, very good experience. And I was very inspired by the head of the unit there, Dr. Barbara Capelletto, a lady, but a very, very authoritative and excellent surgeon. Yes. I came and, completed my training under the Zambia College of Medicine and Surgery and became a fellow of neurosurgery. But I continued for a year under COSEXA because the training under the Zambia College of Medicine is 5 years, but under COSEXA it's 6 years. I started at the same time, but I had a year left on my COSEXA training, and I had my exams in December 2023, where I emerged as the best graduating fellow in neurosurgery, as well as the best overall across all the surgical fields. So these include ENT, general surgery, plastic surgery, and orthopedics, and many others. Yes, so I was awarded that, and I should add that it's the first time that we had a Zambian ever get that award in the 23-year history of the college.
Wow.
Yeah. It was also the first time that as neurosurgeons in Zambia, we were ever sending candidates to sit for that exam, for the COSEXA exam. So I was among the first 3 ever Zambians to write the COSEXA neurosurgery exam. And, despite it being the first time, we got excellent results. But also on the more bigger picture, this award has gone to many other specialties before, but never to a neurosurgeon.
No, okay.
Yeah, so it was also the first time that a neurosurgeon was getting it, which made every neurosurgeon out there quite proud, because I can tell you, even any other doctor, even if he's not a neurosurgeon, will tell you neurosurgery is not easy. It's really tough. Very few people really get to even understand neuroanatomy, even at undergraduate or postgraduate level. It's poorly taught because even some of the teachers may not have understood it very well. Yeah, so people tend to shun away from it and stuff like that. So I think it was also very, very significant milestone that finally neurosurgeons could also beat everyone else.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
In the same vein, this year I was invited by the Royal College of Surgeons for Ireland to award me with the Gerard O. Sovereign Medal, basically because of my performance in COSEXA. So the Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland have been very supportive of COSEXA in many aspects, in terms of sending examiners, developing curricula, logbooks, and stuff like that. So they honored me with that medal. And
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. There is another one which is loading. I'm glad and thankful to God that this year I've been awarded the Tisdale Fellowship Award by the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow in Scotland.
Okay.
I'm supposed to travel, hopefully sometime this year, to go and spend a year there to super specialize.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please don't run away. We still need you in Zambia. So after you do that super speciality, please do come back home.
Sure.
You're just one of 12.
Indeed. I'll
Now,
definitely come back.
with all these awards, like I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, it's been hard to get you because sometimes you have like a full day in surgery. And that's understandable. I mean, you're one of 12 neurosurgeons that we have in the country. Take us through your typical day. What does your typical day look like? What time does it start? What time does it end? What's your day like?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So my days are different. Of course, it depends whether I'm on call that day or not, and we have different activities for each day. So I'll give you different scenarios. On a typical day, if I'm not on call, we have morning meetings, departmental meetings in our division of neurosurgery every day at 7 hours. So basically, whatever I'm doing, I have to be in the UTH at 7 every day.
Okay.
Yes.
That's comforting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I complain because 3 times a week I'm at the office at 5.
Wow.
So at least
That's tough.
Yes,
Yeah.
therefore also wake up early.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you have to wake up early, and yeah. So these are meetings where we basically discuss the patients that were seen the previous day by the team that was on call. We agree on the decisions that were made, if there's anything that needs to be changed and stuff like that. And these are also meetings that we use to teach our residents. So we tend to have presentations, lectures, and topics of discussion. We give our residents topics to prepare on, and then they come and present to the team. We guide them and teach. So basically that's what happens. And then I have surgeries 3 times a week, on Mondays, on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Okay.
Yes, so on Fridays, that's when we do our big operations for adults. These are things like brain tumors, spine tumors, and these are operations that take many, many hours.
How many hours are we looking at?
well, from 8, 10, 14. Sometimes I've gone up to from 8 hours today to 05 hours the following day in the morning.
From 8 hours today
Yeah.
to 05.
Yeah.
One patient.
One patient.
Wow.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of resilience, and of course we are.
Do you take like food breaks during that time?
Well, you may drink something if it's very long, but typically the majority of them will take about 8 hours, 10 hours. With those, we just go throughout. Yeah, but for the longer,
no food.
Yeah, no food, no toilet, no water.
8 hours
8
straight.
Hours, yeah.
Wow.
I think our bodies are conditioned because really when you're doing that, you don't even feel that you need to drink water or you need to go to the toilet or something like that. Your mind is just focused on that. And yeah, so basically that's on a surgery day.
Wait, I'm still in shock. So like the 8-hour operation to maybe 05, are such operations common or they're the rare ones? Because that's a long time.
So the operations that we do, like, so at UTH we have two teams. Neuro 2, we have also Neuro 1, and we have divided days. So the 3 days that we are in theater, the Neuro 1s are doing other things, and the days that we are doing other things, the Neuro 1s are in theater. So on the days that we do the bigger operations, like the Fridays for us in Neuro 2, typically all of them are bigger operations. They will take you the whole day. The earliest you've been leaving the hospital will be probably 20 hours from morning. Yes. Partly it's also because our patients come quite late to our hospitals. We have improved in terms of picking up cases from a diagnosis point of view. We have a few CT scans now around the country, so our colleagues out there are able to pick up these things and refer, but they are still being picked up very late. So our patients come with very, very, very big tumors, which even most of the times get some Chinese neurosurgeons that come to visit under some agreement that the government has with the Chinese government, and they get surprised when they see these kind of tumors. These are things they've never seen. They see very, very small tumors because they're able to pick them early and surgery is fast, the outcomes are better. But our patients come when tumors have really grown and established themselves. So for you to safely remove it, you really have to be, it will take time and technically quite challenging. And if you're on call, basically it means you have a 24-hour shift. So if you report at 6 today, you hand over to the next team at 6 tomorrow. And in that period, you are responsible for all the emergencies that are coming. These are the head injury patients and stroke patients.
How many times a week are you on call?
So like this week, I'm on call 3 times. I was on call on Monday, I'm on call today on Thursday, and I'll be on call on Sunday.
From 6 to 6?
From 6 to 6. And unfortunately, when you hand over the following day at 6, it's not like you're going home to sleep. You have now the duties for that day. If it's a theater day, you have to go to theater. If it's a clinic day to see outpatient clinics, you have to go to the outpatient clinics. So, it's more like you are 48 hours really working.
Then how do you handle, after now that we've got an explanation of how your typical day is like, and for instance, you're from on call of 6 to 6, and now you're going into a surgery, and then you meet patients that are patients, and also maybe they're caregivers that are impatient, and they have much to say about how probably the Zambian system is not working so well. Yeah. Meanwhile, you are in the background sacrificing.
Of course, yeah.
How does that make you feel? How do you handle that?
Of course, to some extent, it makes you feel bad. Sometimes we even go to the extent of, sacrificing our own money to buy certain things to use in theater, to buy certain things to help us stop bleeding, for example, in theater, our own things to cook, small equipment, even big equipment that we sacrifice. And these patients will never know that we used these things on them when, we bought them with our own money. So what I've realized is that, as a doctor, you would never really be appreciated enough. But really what gives you joy and happiness is when you see that you've helped this patient who was about to die, and now you've put them back on their feet. I think there's nothing more satisfying than that. Otherwise, you also understand that their patients are at their point of their desperation. They are looking forward to be helped. Some of the things they may say may just be because they are really desperate, and as a professional, I think you don't need to react to that. I think your job would be to kind of just reassure them, tell them you're doing your best, and yeah.
Let's talk about complicated surgeries that you've handled, and probably they didn't go as planned. You lose patients. Do you have attachments with your patients? How do you handle that?
Yes, I think for a surgeon, there's nothing as painful as losing a patient, especially on the operating table. I've had a few of those experiences. Sometimes it's just that, this patient was too sick, their physiology was weak, and you could have chosen not to do anything really, but maybe you chose that, let's give it a chance, let's give it a go, and you lose the patient on the table. Sometimes may also be due to, maybe in the hindsight, when you come to analyze the case, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision. Maybe I should have made a different decision. I'll give you one example of one case that really touched me. This was a lady that came from Mansa, and she had a very, very big brain tumor. And she had a small component of that tumor that was going really deep and very close to the big vessels. So in our plan, we had decided that we were just going to remove part of it and not all of it, because in our judgment we thought it's a little bit dangerous to get all of it out. And when we went into surgery, everything was going very, very well, to an extent that we thought, well, we can get it all out, and I think we got almost 90% of it out safely without any problems, and there was just a small piece remaining, and for some reason we accidentally put on that piece, and we were greeted by a very big gush of blood, and before we could realize it, the patient decompensated. Of course, we managed to stop the bleeding, but it was already a bit late, and the patient arrested. We tried to resuscitate, and we lost her. So there are those really, really painful things that will beat you for many, many years to come. You think about it, and you always feel bad. So I don't know whether there's a prescription to how you can handle that, but it's something that definitely affects us. And sometimes these patients come, they stay with you for some time, you get attached to them, they become like a second family, really. We spend a lot of time in the hospital, so these are people that we spend time with, really. And when something bad happens, you get beaten down. Yeah, but
Are these experiences that you share among yourselves as doctors to help uplift each other?
yes, indeed. The Zambia Medical Association has actually a program for care for the caregivers. As caregivers also, we need care. And sometimes it may be psychological, sometimes we just need counseling, sometimes we need some encouragement. And yeah, we do support each other a lot. Sometimes when you see that your friend has had a few bad outcomes, you probably tell them to take a step aside. You kind of take more responsibility to help them relax and just come back to their, to themselves before they could handle another case. Yeah.
Speaking of experiences, obviously you've shared with us some of your successful moments. Have you had the opposite of that during your journey?
Yes, I think there have been a number of those as well, especially on a personal level. So like I said, because obviously this calls for a lot of sacrifice, you sacrifice time away from family. And I remember this time, we had just gotten married, and, we now wanted to have a baby, and my wife was pregnant. But that was the time when the training was very intense. We were the first group, so we were really thrown into the deep waters, and you have to pick up everything very fast. There's this procedure called ETV. So this is a very special procedure that we use to treat patients with hydrocephalus. And our teacher, Dr. Schizia, had realized that I had picked up quite fast together with another colleague of mine. But on this particular day, this other colleague of mine was not around. And I was the one to kind of set up everything, start the procedure, and then the boss would join. But that morning, I woke up and my wife told me she wasn't feeling too well, and so I had to choose between her or going for this procedure. And I knew if I don't go, things will not.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, it was a tough one. So I advised her not to go for work. And, a few days before that, again, she was not feeling well. That time, at least we had gone to the hospital, she was checked, and we were told everything was okay. So that day when she told me she was not feeling too well, I told her, okay, I think just stay home, you just rest. And I went for work. And I was in the middle of that same operation, but something about me that day wasn't just right. And, I kept my phone very close. And, when the phone rang, she told me, I'm bleeding badly, please come. And, I had to stop whatever I was doing, scrap down, told my boss I have to leave. My wife just told me that she's not, and I could tell from the way she sounded on the phone that something is terribly wrong. So when I rushed home, really, I found her lying in a pool of blood. She had already expelled the baby. She was almost passing out, really. And it's one of the saddest moments of my life. So really...
and that brings us back to when you spoke about these are some of the experiences patients who never know that you sacrificed.
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay. I think it takes a lot of learning to cope with how to deal with people, in such moments. Because imagine what the patient will say because the doctor went, but you were rushing for another emergency.
Indeed, yeah. Or if the operation was cancelled, say, they just cancel operations. Yeah.
I know awards obviously are one of the things that have made you happy along your way in your career journey. What other things make you happy on a daily basis as a neurosurgeon?
Just that feeling that you've been helpful to someone, that you've helped someone really live. I think there's nothing more satisfying for me as a doctor than that. When a patient comes, they came almost dead, and you do something, you discharge them. The following week or two, they are coming to the clinic, now able to talk to you and telling you thank you, is very satisfying.
Okay. Away from work, away from this busy schedule, the 6 to 6. And you also do lecturing in between?
Yes, lecturing in between, exams here and there. Of course, you also have to attend conferences because you need to keep learning,
You should have more than 24 hours in a day. You should have more than 24 hours in a day because that sounds like a lot. What type of a lecturer are you? Are you the sadist?
Well, as a lecturer, I think I'm a good lecturer in terms of how I deliver my content. I try to really leave no stone unturned. I engage my students as much as possible, but I also try to give them the information even when they are not as responsive as I would like to. But when it comes to the exams, I'm a little bit on the strict side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe that a doctor should really be pushed when they are not ready, because I think the margin of error is very small and the consequences are really there. If I allow a doctor who I know is not competent enough. I don't know who's going to treat my mother in Kitwe. It may be the same doctor. So I think we have the duty to protect the community by ensuring that whoever we churn out there is ready.
Okay, nice. Away from work, away from your busy schedule, what do you do to relax?
So because of this busy schedule and of course even from the school point of view, I didn't really get the chance to spend a lot of time with my family, my wife, my son, and I try whenever I get a chance to stay with them, either at home or just go somewhere and get some fresh air whenever I can. I try to do that. I also like to listen to a bit of music to relax and, of course, get some good sleep. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like much. That doesn't sound like much, but anyway.
I love football as well.
Okay.
I watch some football whenever I can. Yeah.
You don't play?
I used to, but now I don't. It's been some time. Yeah, I used to do that a lot when I was in Dola. I think we had a bit of a community of doctors that loved to play football, so would play sometimes on the weekends. Yeah, but from my time in Lusaka, I know some guys do, but I've not just had the chance to do that much.
The majority of young people, if you go in schools, will tell you, I want to be a doctor. Would you honestly encourage a young person out there to become a doctor, a neurosurgeon for that matter?
Yes, I would encourage a lot of young doctors to be doctors. Young guys, people want to be doctors. It's a very nice career. It's respectable career. It's satisfying, but you have to go into it for the right reasons. In our country right now, if you are going to compare yourself to other professions, especially in terms of the financial rewards of it, when you look at the amount of hours that you put in, I think you'll be frustrated. So you have to, it has to be something that you really love to do and something that you are prepared to sacrifice for. Yeah, so if you really think that you can do that, well, we need doctors.
What is it that they should be doing in order to get to where you are at?
You obviously they have to know that this is what they want, and they have to be dedicated to achieving this. It's not easy. I know you can swim through and somehow find your way, but time will catch up with you really. If you want to be a good doctor, you have to sacrifice your time to being a doctor. It will need you to read a lot. It will need you to practice. So sometimes you may have to go to theater even when you're not mandated to go. Sometimes you may have to go do some extra dissections beyond your schedule just to perfect that skill. It just doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. So you can be just a doctor, or you can be a very good doctor. So if you really want to be a very good doctor, you have to put in extra.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing. That's your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So there you have it. I've been speaking to Dr. Peter Mushenya, who is one of the 12 neurosurgeons that we currently have in the country. He's a youth and obviously a very good story of resilience, determination, as well as a lot of sacrifice. I do hope that it's been able to encourage, especially the young people that want to become doctors one day, that it's about sacrifice and you should be doing it for the right motives. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you'll be able to join me next week for another interesting edition as I feature another high achiever. Special thanks go to Waterfalls Manor apartments found in Ibex Hill, and you can find them on booking.com. Goodbye for now.